r/NoSleep. Posted by u/moistassumption989. I should have never grabbed that book. I've always loved thrift stores. There's something about sifting through other people's discarded items, searching for hidden treasures, that thrills me. So, when I found an old, leather-bound journal at a local shop, I bought it without a second thought. The journal was filled with pages of neat, cursive handwriting, chronicling the life of a man named Henry. His entries were mundane at first, notes about the weather, his job, his garden. But then, they took a darker turn. August 12, 1984, found a strange doll in the attic. Must have belonged to the previous owners. Its eyes seemed to follow me around the room. I don't like the feeling it gives me. August 20, 1984, can't sleep. Keep hearing whispers. The doll is always in a different place when I wake up. I know I didn't move it. August 25, 1984, I tried to throw the doll away, but it was back in the attic this morning. How is this happening? I'm starting to feel watched all the time. September 1, 1984, woke up with scratches all over my arms. I'm scared. What does this doll want from me? The entries stopped abruptly after that. Intrigued and a bit spooked, I decided to investigate. I found an address at the back of the journal and, on a whim, drove out to the old house. It was abandoned, a decaying shell of what it once was. Windows were shattered, and the front door hung off its hinges. I searched the attic and, to my shock, found the doll. It was exactly as Henry described, small, with glassy eyes that seemed too lifelike, almost human. I brought it home, thinking it would make for an interesting, albeit creepy, conversation piece. That night, the whispers started. Faint at first, just a soft murmur that I could almost convince myself was the wind. But they grew louder, more insistent, like a chorus of angry voices. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was malevolent, filled with hatred and malice. I woke up the next morning with deep scratches on my arms, just like Henry. The doll was sitting on my dresser, though I was sure I had left it in the living room. My heart raced as I realized it was not just a coincidence. I tried to get rid of it. I burned it, but the next morning, it was back, completely unscathed, sitting on my bed. Panic set in. I threw it in the river, drove miles away and left it in the woods, but every time, it returned, as if tethered to me by some unseen force. The whispers grew louder, and now they're not just at night. I hear them all the time, hateful voices that won't let me sleep or think. They echo through my home, relentless and unforgiving. I'm writing this as a warning: if you ever find an old, leather-bound journal in a thrift store, leave it. Don't read it. Don't bring it into your home. The whispers are growing louder. They're here with me now. And they're angry. They want something, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how much longer I can last. If anyone reads this, please, help me. Before it's too late. I've always been a skeptic. Ghost stories, haunted dolls, curses, they were just the stuff of fiction to me. But now, faced with this relentless terror, I knew I needed help. Desperation drove me to contact a paranormal investigator I found online. His name was Dr. Elias Thornton, a renowned expert in dealing with supernatural phenomena. Dr. Thornton arrived at my house the next day, a tall, stern man in his late 50s with a piercing gaze that seemed to see right through me. He carried a bag filled with various instruments and immediately got to work, setting up equipment in every room of my house. "You did the right thing by calling me," he said as he placed a strange device near the doll. "This is not just a haunted object, it's a conduit for something much darker." As the sun set, Dr. Thornton began his investigation in earnest. He used an array of gadgets, EMF meters, thermal cameras, audio recorders, all designed to detect paranormal activity. The doll, sitting innocently on the table, seemed to mock our efforts with its glassy, unblinking eyes. Hours passed, and the house grew colder. Suddenly, the whispers started again, louder than ever before. Dr. Thornton's equipment went haywire, detecting fluctuations in temperature and electromagnetic fields. The air felt thick with malice. "We need to communicate with whatever is attached to this doll," Dr. Thornton said, setting up a spirit box, a device that supposedly allowed spirits to speak through white noise. The static crackled, and then we heard it, a voice, faint but unmistakable. "Help, me." Dr. Thornton's face paled. "Who are you?" he asked. The voice came again, stronger this time. "Henry, trapped, doll." My heart raced. Henry's spirit was trapped in the doll? How was that possible? Dr. Thornton explained that powerful emotions or traumatic events could bind a spirit to an object, and it seemed Henry's spirit had become entangled with the doll during his last, terrified days. "Henry, how can we free you?" Dr. Thornton asked. There was a long pause, and then the voice whispered, "Destroy the journal, burn it." It made sense. The journal must have been the anchor, the source of the curse. I rushed to grab the journal from where I had hidden it and brought it back. Dr. Thornton instructed me to tear out the pages and burn them in a metal basin he provided. As the pages burned, the whispers grew into anguished wails, filling the house with a cacophony of pain and despair. The doll began to shake violently, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. Dr. Thornton chanted in a language I didn't recognize, performing some kind of ritual to sever the connection. Finally, the flames consumed the last page, and a deafening silence fell over the house. The doll lay still, its eyes now dull and lifeless. Dr. Thornton inspected it carefully. "It's over," he said, visibly exhausted. "Henry's spirit is free." Relief washed over me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching us. Dr. Thornton warned me to be cautious, as residual energy could linger. He advised me to cleanse the house with sage and blessed water, which I did religiously for the next few days. Life slowly returned to normal, but I couldn't forget the horrors I had witnessed. I kept the burned remnants of the journal as a reminder of the ordeal, a symbol of the thin veil between our world and whatever lies beyond. Months later, I received a letter from Dr. Thornton. He had continued his research and discovered that the doll had originally belonged to a child who had died under mysterious circumstances. It seemed that the curse had a deeper, darker origin than we had realized. Though I no longer hear whispers or find the doll moving on its own, I can't help but feel that the story isn't truly over. Sometimes, late at night, I think I hear faint murmurs, as if the echoes of the past still linger, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Last night, I woke to find a new doll sitting on my dresser, eerily similar to the first one. It held a piece of paper in its hand, scrawled with a single, chilling sentence, "Did you really think it was over?"